What is Illuvium? Where to start? How to start? What to do once you jump into the game? Those are some of the questions that we are gonna be answering today. Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to the full Illuvium guide. It's gonna be a quick one. We're gonna run down all the games, all the information you need to start playing Illuvium and also be effective and have a lot of fun while playing Illuvium. So first off, I'm gonna give you a quick overview of all the games in Illuvium. Then we're gonna check out where to start and the optimal gameplay loop. There's gonna be chapters in the timeline below, so if you wanna fast forward to a specific topic, feel free to do so. Before we kick it off, why listen to me? So I've been in the Illuvium community for over 2 years. I've made hundreds, close to 1,000 videos now, and hundreds of gameplay guides. Since the beginning, I was focused on gameplay because since I'm a child, I'm a gamer and I want to share this passion that I have with gaming and especially now with Illuvium with you guys. I've won multiple events in the Illuvium community. I've hosted and competed in dozens of tournaments. And today I hope to teach you all I know about Illuvium. Come with me. So what is Illuvium? Basically, it consists out of 3 different games. First up, we got Illuvium Zero. This is the mobile city builder type game, but you can also play it on the computer. Then we got the Illuvium Overworld. This is your open world creature collection game. And this is basically what I was dreaming about when I was growing up playing Pokemon. And lastly, we got the Illuvium Arena. This is your strategy game. There is a lot of different game modes in there that we're gonna talk about in a second. So first off, right off the bat, arguably the most important thing to realize are the tiers and stages in Illuvium. So all the games in Illuvium, they have a free-to-play section. It's called Tier 0. And Tier 0 comes from the rarity system in Illuvium. So Tier 0 is the free-to-play experience, and then we have Tier 1 until Tier 5. Tier 1 to Tier 5 is the paid version of the game, Tier 5 being the rarest of it all. Additionally, there are stages, and this is the evolution of the individual assets. We have stage 0, again the free-to-play experience, and then we have stage 1 until stage 3. For example, a tier 0 stage 3 Illuvial is the last evolution of this free-to-play Illuvial. Illuvials is the word that we use for the monsters. And then for example, tier 5 stage 3 Illuvials, those are the rarest and strongest Illuvials in the game. And this is the same with resources, or suits or weapons for your ranger. Everything in Illuvium is sectioned off into those different rarities, into those different tiers, and all those different things have different evolutions. And then the second most important thing are synergies. So you have on the one side affinities, where your base affinities are gonna be water, air, fire, nature, and earth. And then you have the classes on the other hand. Your basic classes are fighters, rogues, bulwarks, empaths, and scions. So the affinities, they counter each other. It's kind of also similar like Pokemon. So for example, fire counters nature by a factor of 2 and air by a factor of 1. And then nature counters air by a factor of 2 and water by a factor of 1. And so on. And then your classes, those are the jobs of the Illuvials. And you need to know the class of an Illuvial to know what it's supposed to do. So for example, a bulwark unit, those are your tanks in the game. They are supposed to soak up all the damage. You either have them in the front line to tank in the front, or you put them in the back line to defend against the rogues. The rogues are your assassins. They jump automatically into the back line of the enemy. And hopefully, if they're not met by some bulwarks, they can assassinate the Scion and the Empath units back there. Scion units are your mages, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then we got the Empaths, which are your support units. They either buff, heal, or shield your units, or they debuff or CC the enemy units. By the way, CC means crowd control, so that's stun, slow, and all of that. One quick side note, there is a lot of new words in Illuvium for all the gameplay jargon. So for example, you have instead of an ability, it's called Omega. And then instead of ability power, it's Omega power. The mana, the thing that has to fill up to cast your Omega, is called energy. And there is some other niche words in there, but they're not so important. And you're gonna learn them as we go. I also have another video about them where I go through all the different gaming words in Illuvium. Alright, let's look a little bit deeper into the Illuvium Overworld. So you jump into the Overworld and there's gonna be a nice, very, very good tutorial waiting for you. You're gonna learn how to shoot down rocks, to mine those ores. You're gonna learn how to shoot down plants to get those consumables, and you're gonna learn how to shoot down those Illuvials fight them, and then capture them. So you go into a run, you shoot down rocks to get shards, those are your Pokeballs, and then you also get ores and different materials to craft things from plants and from the rocks. You go back to the hub, to the Sanctum Mesa, you cure those shards, then you can use them to capture Illuvials with them. You maybe want to craft some gear, like a weapon for your ranger, some suits for your ranger, or maybe some augments for your drone. Talking about the drone, you're gonna select one of them. It doesn't matter too much which one you take, but you're gonna select one of them, and this is your companion. The drone is gonna be with you, it's gonna help you harvest, shoot down Illuvials, and so on. And depending on your playstyle, you're gonna use either, for example, drone equipment that increases your chance of capturing Illuvials, or maybe you can get duplicate ores out of stones, or maybe you wanna lower the harvesting cost of the plants, and so on. So the first time you travel into a region, it's gonna be a tier 0 region. The free-to-play experience is also where we all start, because there you have to capture those tier 0 Illuvials, you get those tier 0 shards that you use to capture those tier 0 Illuvials, and then once you have built up a little bit of a team with those Illuvials, you have maybe some weapons, then you can take all of them into a stage 1 run if you want to. And stage 1 until stage 3, this is kind of like your card pack opening. So instead of buying cards, ripping them up, and then you have those playable things, you're gonna jump into a run. It's like a gamified card opening. You're gonna shoot down those Illuvials, get them, capture them, and then you can use them in the arena. Those are also your NFTs, so you own them and you can sell them right away on the marketplace, for example, if you find something rare. And same like in card openings, maybe you buy a card pack for $1 in this case, and you get 50 cents of Illuvials out of it. Maybe you buy a card pack for $1 and you get $20 of Illuvials out of it if you get really lucky. And then you're gonna keep repeating this gameplay loop, so you're gonna go into the stage 1. In the stage 1, this is the first stage of the paid experience, right? And in here, you can capture tier 1 until tier 5 Illuvials. It's very unlikely you find a tier 5 Illuvial, because stage 1 is the easiest one, so there's mostly gonna be the easiest Illuvials, tier 1, tier 2, maybe some tier 3 Illuvials. Then once you have upgraded your gear, have captured a rarer, stronger Illuvials, have a better team, you take this team, go into stage 2 when you're ready, and you keep repeating this. All the way up to stage 3, where you have the best chances of finding tier 5 rocks, Illuvials, consumables, and so on. So the tier 1 to tier 5 assets you will find in the stage 1 to stage 3 runs. And the tier 4, 5, the rare stuff, you're gonna find in stage 3 runs, in the hardest runs. And then the tier 1, 2 stuff you're gonna find in the stage 1 runs, the easiest runs. And everything in between is gonna be in the stage 2 run. The tier 0, the free-to-play experience, is apart from that. But tier 0 Illuvials are very, very important. The team has put a lot of effort in the art, in the design of those Illuvials, and they are super, super important if you wanna build a good team. Even if you go to stage 3 encounters, you're still gonna be bringing tier 0 Illuvials, because they don't cost a lot. They fill out your affinities and classes. For example, a Fire Rogue Volante costs only 25 mastery points, but it gives you a fire and a rogue stack. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit later, what that exactly means. Personally, I will stay in the Illuvium Overworld for the first week, maybe 2-3 weeks, because I wanna just be getting all those Illuvials and get ready for the arena. But you can also jump into the arena part. You don't even have to start with Illuvium Overworld. I would just recommend it. Hello there. I don't know if you knew, but I quit my job as a snowboard instructor to go full time in Illuvium. And I have my ups and downs, but we have managed to keep going for the last few months. Now, with the game being out, I need your support to keep going. If you like my content, please feel free to use my creator code in your Illuvium profile. So you can go into your Illuvium profile, put my creator code PAZ, P-A-Z, all lowercase, into your referral code box, and then every time you purchase something, you're gonna be supporting me and gonna be helping me to keep doing this for you guys. I love my job, I love the community, this is a dream come true. Thank you so much for your continuous support, and I hope I can provide as much value to you as you have provided to me over the years. Thank you. So let's talk about the arena. First up, survival mode. This is something where you don't need to bring any units or anything, because every day you get a randomized deck to play with. So you're gonna have a random collection of Illuvials, augments, which are like items for Illuvials to make them stronger, suits and weapons for your ranger. The most important thing in the survival arena is that you have interest. So for every 20 mastery points you don't use, you're gonna get 1 mastery point income. So for example, I like to stay around at least 100 mastery points in my bank. 5 times 20 gives you 5 interest per round. If you manage to make a really good team in the survival arena, able to save 200 mastery points, for example, you're gonna get 10 interest every round, which is gonna help you a lot to get through the early and mid game, transition into the late game. And this is basically the longer you are able to survive, the better. There's a leaderboard and you play versus random PvE rounds. And when to decide what you want to put on the field, it's important that you kind of play dominoes. You want to connect the dots. For example, if you get 3 fire on the board, you activate the fire trait. Fire trait means your fire alluvial get extra bonus damage, and your whole team gets half of that bonus damage as well. You can do the same with classes. If you get 3 bulwarks on the field, which I very much recommend, because a team is built on 2 main pillars, which is bulwarks or tanks and damage. And once you have those, maybe you can bring in some empaths. Of course, there is some niche situations where you, for example, you play a full empath, a full support team in the corner, which just heal themselves to infinity and you can never die. But that is too much for now. You need damage and you need tanks. So what I usually do is bring 3 bulwarks, activates the bulwark trait, gives my bulwarks extra resistances, and my whole team gets half of those resistances as well. And then I bring either fighters or rogues, because fighters and rogues are very reliable and they are kind of your carries, especially in the early game. Also, Scions are great damage dealers, but they are a little bit harder to handle and they can be like glass cannons, right? You have high risk, high reward. It's easy for them to die, but if you manage to pull it off, they can just blast the enemy team away. Next up, the Ascendant Arena. This is your one-on-one PvP game. You have a team builder, so you can, all the Illuvials that you captured, you can put them in a team, save that team, and then take that team to the fight and fight it out against your opponent. This one is by far the most difficult to understand and the hardest to play, because first you need to capture all those Illuvials and the weapons and everything in the overworld. Then you need to go into the team builder and build a good team. And then you bring it in there and have a one-on-one fight versus the opponent. So this is very, very much the hardest one to learn. But it's a lot of fun and the team did a great job. They basically invented this genre where they combine a card game with an auto battler like TFT. Then we get the Leviathan Arena. Leviathan Arena is exactly the same as Ascendant Arena right now, but there your stats of your Illuvials matter. So if you capture an Illuvial, they have randomized stats. And if you get very lucky, those Illuvials have, for example, full perfect stats. And if you bring a full perfect stat Illuvial in it, those stats will matter and you will have an advantage over your opponent. So this is for people that have too much money and not enough skill and they just gonna buy the best Illuvials and then they're gonna have a little bit of an advantage there. The Ascendant Arena, all the Illuvials are supposed to be the same. So a Ramphie is always as strong as the other Ramphie no matter what. In the Leviathan Arena, that's not the case. Leviathan Arena is the whale's playground. And then lastly, we have the Gauntlet mode. This is heavily inspired by TFT, Teamfight Tactics, which is the biggest strategy game in the world right now. Here you also have interest. For every 10 mastery points, you get 1 mastery point interest. You play versus 7 other players, which I like a lot. It's like a battle royale versus a lot of other players. And the one thing that is a little bit confusing but makes a lot of sense once you play, you have a shared unit pool. So for example, there is 20 Ramfires in that pool, and every round you get random units to pick from. And then if I pick a lot of Ramphies because they're so strong and other people pick a lot of Ramphies, there's going to be not a lot of Ramphies left in that pool. And so the more people play the same strong strategy, the harder it gets to pull it off and the more valuable is to pivot and play another strategy which is not contested. So yeah, you buy those units. If you buy 3 of the same unit, it levels up to the next stage. Then you place them on the board in a strategic position and then you just hit play and it's gonna fight for you. So you're kind of the fight manager. You're the overlord placing your minions on the field and then gonna fight it out. That's the same for all the arena games. They are all in the auto battler genre, but all a little bit different. Next up is Illuvium Zero. This stands apart from the rest a little bit. This is your mobile game. You build up a industrial city, try to be very efficient, and you try to harvest the resources and the fuel in the game. It's a lot of fun, it's super polished, it's so much fun to play, it just feels right when you play it. There's also a free-to-play version of the game that you can play anytime. You can download all those games right now on the Epic Games Store, and you can also sign up for free on the Illuvium.io homepage or use my link in the description down below, which would be supporting the channel. And then in Illuvium Zero you also have the paid version of the game. So for example, you can buy a tier 1 plot of land, and then the fuel that you produce on that land plot, you sell it to the marketplace and get Ethereum, you get money for it. Talking about fuel, this is the currency in the game. We have 3 different types of fuel. We have Krypton, which is used for traveling into the regions in Overworld. Then we have Hyperion, which is mainly used to cure your shards. So if you get those tier 5 super rare shards to capture those big Illuvials, you need to go to the forge and cure them, and this costs Hyperion. And then we got Solon. This is used when you craft anything in the forge, like your weapons, your suits, your drone augments, and so on. All of this you buy with Ethereum or SLV2, and you will need all 3 of them for a complete gameplay loop in the overworld. Depending on your playstyle, some of them you might need more and some less, so I would recommend just buy a little bit of all of them in the beginning, and then you see what you run out of first. For example, there's people who just want to be mining and farming for shards, sell those on the marketplace. Then you need a lot more Krypton, a lot more Hyperion, but not so much Solon. The arena is completely free to play. For some game modes you need to bring your own Illuvials, but there is also free decks, they're not so good. Gauntlet is completely free to play. You just click play and press start and go. You don't need to spend a second in another game. You jump into the Gauntlet mode, you start the game, and you have the exact same chances as everybody else in there. Survival, completely free to play. You always get a randomized deck from Illuvium. Every day it gets reset. And then, yeah, the arena is where you bring your own Illuvials to fight with. So I said there's only 3 games, but we have a little last one, which is Illuvium Beyond. It's not really a game. It's your classic profile picture NFT collection. But it's not really that classic because you have millions of different combinations. Because if you open one of those boxes where the Illuvitars are in, those are the profile pictures, avatars, Illuvitars. There's also accessories in there. And then, for example, you get this Ramphie picture with some sunglasses, and then you can bond them together and fuse your own Illuvitar, and suddenly you have a Ramphie with sunglasses. This is mainly used as a profile picture in Illuvium, but there is some rumor that this is gonna have more use cases in the future, like a card game and stuff like this. And that is it, everybody. That is all the games in Illuvium. Obviously, there is more to talk about in Illuvium than I have time in a day. And that's why over the last few years, I've made hundreds of guides. Many of them are still up to date. I have an Essentials Guides playlist in the description down below. This is a collection of the most up-to-date and the most important guides in Illuvium that I made. Then I have a really important one for you right here with some really important things that you should know before jumping into the game. This is just the beginning, everybody. So I wish you all the best in your journey in Illuvium, and I hope to see you again. I'm gonna be streaming all the time, every day, all day.